Welcome, welcome. We are live. I'm LaTonya Martin. Oh, hold on. Let me turn the music on. I'm LaTonya Martin with our homes. And this is Shift Happens, selling a home. We have Shedrick Doss with Southwest Funding and Ebony Quinn with Grande Homes. And again, LaTonya Martin, Grande Homes as well. Today, I'm excited to talk about selling your home. So we know in September, there were some major changes in the market, right? A shift that um, caused some changes to go on in for sellers. So, Mr. Dawes, tell us what happened in September that changed. And I know the major thing is the interest rate that increased and went up. But what else happened? What caused that change to happen?
Well, the economy, according to the Federal Reserve, the economy was growing at a pace more rapidly than they wanted. So, in order to slow down anything, is when it comes to the economy, it's increasing prices. You saw the increasing gas prices, groceries. Anything you can name. Of course, interest rates. So once that happened, people slowed down in reference to travel, cut off some of the things that they were doing leisurely. Um, and with a home being the biggest purchase that you can typically someone buy, of course, that was pretty much out of most people's budgets. And so that shifted from it being a seller's market to more of a buyer because it was less buyers in the market to purchase. Because with the interest rate increase, um, it lessened the amount that someone can qualify for. So interest rates were in the 4% before the market shift. Now they're in the sevens. So someone that could possibly qualify for 500,000, maybe down to 380 or 400. And what they will say is, now I just don't want to buy it all because that doesn't meet the needs of what I'm looking for, my family's looking for. So that where the shift, supply and demand happened. So it's more supplies out there and demand shifted down. So it came from a seller's market down to a buyer's market. So it is always good now to jump in to purchase. I think when it's being the market is in your favor when it comes to the seller buyers there. So
Absolutely. And just because the market has shifted doesn't mean you should not put your home on the market, right? Inventory is up, yes, but there are a lot of sellers out here paying two mortgages. So again, where initially the amount that we were selling homes for may have been overvalued per se, the market has shifted to be where it's actually supposed to be and needs to be. So those values now will be at the actual market value. So for a seller, that means let's run some comparables based in the last couple of months. Let's look at what the market is doing. Let's look at um, price comparisons. Let's get a marketing strategy together. Um, it's not going to be just put it on MLS and it sells the next day. It's going to be a little work. So even as a realtor, we got to do a little bit more work to sell your home. Which again, we come up with a marketing plan. Um, no shortcuts. Um, price it right, and then give you step by step what we're going to do. So that means we're back to doing open houses. We're back to doing broker open houses. We're about, we're out here doing more things because buyers now have opportunities and more opportunities to find what they want at a price that they want as well. So they're doing open houses. They're out here shopping. They're online looking. Um, Inventory is up, but there are buyers that are still looking and wanting to buy because it's a good time to buy. So get with your realtor. Make sure your home is priced right. Get a marketing strategy, a marketing plan to get that home sold. And lenders are having so many different type of um, in incentives and buy rate downs and things like that that they have available as an opportunity for as a listing agent for you to market. And then as a seller, be willing to be negotiable, and offer some buyer incentives as well to help them buy down that rate or help them pay some closing costs to get into that home. um, we just got to do a little bit more to get that home sold, but we're willing to put it in. And Ebony, what are some things that you're seeing that may need to be done to get some homes sold? Again, we were sitting here buying them as is, no home inspection. What are some things that you're seeing the sellers need to do now, Ebony, to get that home sold?
At this point, I think sellers are going to have to offer some concessions, such as paying for, not necessarily paying all the closing costs, but paying for some of the closing costs. Also, maybe having an allowance for repairs, such as if it needs painting or flooring or something like that, where you have an allowance for that, or either have uh, certain amount of money where you can either use it for closing costs or for to buy down your points. Those are some things that sellers are going to have to do if they want their house to sell, and to sell in a certain amount of time.
Mhm. And you have to clean the homes, right? We talk about when we list a home, make sure it's professionally cleaned. Staging now. I mean, we're doing a lot more virtual staging or actual staging because people want to walk into a home and know where things can go, and staging sort of gives the effect and the feel of, darn, this is home, I'm home.
Mhm.
Sometimes people can't imagine how things may need to go in a home that's not staged. So staging will also help. We have a staging service.
We
We have a handyman on duty. We have all those things that a seller may need to help prepare that home to sell. What else? I've had a call from a homeowner that was looking to buy another home, and they asked me about using the equity in their home to buy another property. So as a homeowner, you have equity in that home. You may want to if you're not paying two mortgages or haven't moved out or you're still there, um, you may want to use some of that equity to purchase something else, and you keep that as a rental, keep it as an investment. I mean, so there's other options too. Doss, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so that's the beauty of home ownership there. I say all the time, living in a home is probably the least beneficial aspect of owning a home, because you can live anywhere, but gaining equity, tax breaks, um, the list goes on and on. And the bit of the thing that you just spoke on is equity. So if you've been in your home 5, 10, 15 years, you got three, four, $500,000 of equity in the home. You can do an equity line of credit and just purchase that home, cash. Or you could do a cash out refinance of the home and use some of the cash from that cash out to purchase another home. I've had clients do that, and in this market here, when it comes to refinancing of home equity lines of credit, um, most people are like, oh, I'm not going to refinance right now because rates are so high. But you can refinance and still beat rates on credit cards that you have. Some automobile loans where the rates are astronomical. Um, I did a loan for someone that was doing a cash out refinance, and his mortgage went up maybe a couple $100, but the debts that he was paying off, it reduced his monthly what he was spending out by about $600. So just looking at things like that, to increase your monthly money that you got coming in. But you can, to go back to what you were saying, Latanya, people can use the equity into their home to do whatever you want to do with it. You can get the equity, buy a car. You can use the equity to fund your kids' college education, pay off credit cards, buy Christmas gifts, whatever you want to do with it. So if you have enough equity into the home, you can buy a house with that equity cash, and you'll have the equity line of credit or the cash out. If you do a cash out, you only have one loan. If you do an equity line of credit, you'll have your current loan that you have on your current home plus that equity line of credit. But that is a very great way to purchase a home. Definitely when the price are right, just like they are now, because it's more of a buyer's market. So I agree, and I try to explain the pros and cons to every client because every situation is different. So not saying that this goes for everybody, but it is not a bad way to purchase a home by using the equity into your house. Definitely when you're gaining, let's say you get a deal, the house is $50,000 less than, um, with $50,000 equity in it. So you can have that equity and still use that for later on down the line. So that's why you get the generational wealth, and the growth of your portfolio can grow from there. Somebody's buying a house now. And this, I think the people that's looking for the deals are getting them right now because they know that the price of the house are lower now. So the prices of the houses that you bought it is permanent. It's not changing. You bought it for 400,000. You just bought it for 400,000. Interest rates are temporary. So if interest rates are 6, 7% today, but 2 or 3 months down the line they become back to 4 or 5%. That's a temporary thing, but you still gain that extra 50, $100,000 of equity in the home when you move during the right time to move when nobody else was buying.
Absolutely. So there's options. There's options.
Mhm.
Ebony.
Okay. One thing I want to go back to talk about when we were talking about like staging the home. Even if you don't stage your home, I know that sometimes when I'm looking on MLS, researching for my clients, when you're having the pictures done, they should be professional pictures, but sometimes that's not something that everybody can afford. But the most important thing is your home should be clean because people will judge whether or not they even want to look at the home. So if your first impression is a lasting impression, so if your home is like I said, if you can't afford staging, if you can't afford professional pictures or whatever, at least make sure the home is clean. There's no I've seen pictures where you can see the trash under the bed, or the beds are not made properly, or you can see the used bath towels in the bathroom. You don't want those things showing when those pictures are being taken. And sometimes it's just a matter of moving things to the other side of the room. So you may not be in a situation where you can take everything out, but presentation is everything, because sometimes your home can just be overlooked because of the way your pictures are presented online. So just do take that into consideration too when you're thinking of listing your home and presenting it to the public.
So decluttering is important. Taking down any photos that represent who lives there. I don't
Right.
even want anyone to keep their kids' names on the wall. No one
Right.
needs to know who lives in the home.
Right. We've also been told when we do staging classes, if you have like a set of cutlery and things like that, put those things up, because if your agent is in there doing an open house, that's a strangers coming in, so we don't know who's who when they're coming in. So if you have a set of knives sitting out, that could be a danger to your realtor. Also, if you have guns, medication, things like that should be put up. Even when the pictures are being taken, if you have medication, because those pictures can be enlarged, they can see your name. So you want to keep yourself safe, and you want to keep your realtor safe as well when they're showing and when they're doing open houses.
Hmm. So back to preparing your home to sell, painting is important. Make sure things are clean. Your landscaping. The when someone pulls up, that could be a yes or a no right there.
Right.
So that first impression is
I
a lasting impression. So it means
I had a
you
client that wouldn't get out the car because they didn't
do
like
a
the way
power wash.
the outside looked.
The what now? They didn't like what?
I had a client that wouldn't get
What'd you
out
say,
the
Ebony?
car because they didn't like. I said I had a client that wouldn't get outside the car because they didn't like the way the outside of the house looked
Yeah,
once we
yeah,
pulled up in front of the
absolutely.
house.
Right. So it's important those little things too. And to me, lighting is important. Make
Hmm.
people be able to see when they go into your home. So make it appealing. Because again, because inventory is up, there's competition out here. Make your home appealing. Make sure your realtor's doing a professional job of marketing that home for sale for you and getting the word out. And then make sure that you have some lender partners or other partners who can help you put on those open houses and things like that, and offer some incentives that can help the seller get that home sold. Um, that's everything that I sort of have. Mr. Oh, you know what? I did want to just make sure. Again, I think we talked about this a couple of times about the buy downs, right? Um, Offered an incentive so a buyer can buy down the rate on the home. Once again, Ms. Dawes, one more time, just talk about that because that's a big thing that I'm seeing. I'm seeing the seller incentives, but I'm seeing that rate buy down. Just one more time, talk about how that works for a buyer. You know how it affects the seller, how it works for the buyer to help them get into the home.
Sure. Yes, we offer a 2-1 buy down, and basically it allows the buyer to have lower interest rates for the first 24 months, 2 years of the loan. So, for an example, if rates are 7% today, uh, the first year you get the interest rate 2% lower than that. So you're at a 5% the first year. Uh, and then after the beginning of the second year, you get a 6% interest rate. So, and then the third year, that's when you get the 7% interest rate. The beauty of that is you can temporarily have lower rates. And then once the rates get lower during that process, let's say in the second year, the rates are back in the 5%. You can always refinance and get that 5% first versus when it comes to the maximum rate of that 7%. And it's a fixed rate, so it's not an adjustable rate. It's not going any higher than what the market is today. So you can get today's rates, but you can delay them basically for 3 years before you start having to pay the interest rates where the market is right now. So the first year you get 2% lower. The next year you get 1% lower, and the fee has to come from the seller or the builder. So they'll have to pay for that incentive. So it won't be anything out of the buyer's pocket there as well. So a lot of people are taking advantage of it. I think it's something that can help with your fear of interest rates. It again, it's not a adjustable rate mortgage at all, so you don't know where. So you will know where you're at and where you will be pretty much every year through the life of the loan, from the first year to the 30th year before when you pay the mortgage off.
Great. Ebony, anything you want to add to that?
Um, One thing, Latanya, and you may want to speak on this. Um, for people who are selling their home and they have tenants in it, how do they handle that in regards to the tenants not being there? Or because when you're showing a home, you need to show that entire home. So do you have any suggestions or anything for investors that are selling, or just a homeowner that has rented their home out and they're selling it?
Yes, I have a couple. So I do have some buyers that are investors that pay cash, right? You have those. But even those, some of the ones that are buying homes for investment don't want the renter in the home. So sometimes, that's another question that the realtor is going to ask is there a lease? When will they be out the lease? When is the lease over with? Some buyers do not want to buy with a tenant in there because it's hard to get a tenant out. And then I know I've shown some property over the weekend that was tenant occupied. And sometimes when tenants don't want to go, they're not very helpful on selling your home. Heads up. So when a buyer or potential buyer is looking at a property that they want to live in as a buyer, and it's tenant occupied, and the tenants, um, a lot of times some of the tenants don't want to leave to allow us to see the property. They're in the home while you're in there. They're the home hasn't been represented to its fullest ability because they're there living however they live in that home. So it may not be cleaned up. It may not be um, in the best condition because during that walkthrough, as well as and this is what I'm going to tell you. Any seller, there's different smells in homes. Sometimes there are pet smells. Sometimes there's different smells in homes that when they're occupied, can be sometimes overwhelming. But if you have a tenant in your home and they're going to go with the home or stay in the home, or you're trying to sell it tenant occupied, it may be harder to sell than a home that is vacant or unoccupied, because you have buyers now, buyers looking at all types of properties. And a lot of these homes where tenants live in, they're still great homes. They're just occupied, and buyers are worried about the fact of how when is that tenant going to leave, and then how can they see that property once that tenant is gone. Because again, when someone doesn't own the home, sometimes they may not have it in the best condition of showing, especially if they don't want to leave. And yeah, I showed a house and I had a client say, I don't think they're not going anywhere, they're not ready to leave. So sometimes tenant occupied was great back in the day when you got investors who want a tenant, but a lot of buyers now want to renovate the home, get it in the best condition, and rent it out on their own. So just a thought. It's just harder to sell tenant occupied. So for those who are selling your home, we do have and we have one for buyers too, but we have seller guides to just help you navigate through the process, as well as some things you need to do that we've shared today as well, that we'll post so that you can get a copy of that. It's a free home seller guide. We also have a free home buyer guide. But if you have any questions in the future about buying or selling your home, please reach out to us. We love to help, whether those are mortgage questions or real estate questions. We can answer those questions for you before you make your move, and give you some options and things that you can do to get your home sold or move into that home you want to buy. I appreciate you all coming out and getting on our live today. And anything else last minute you guys want to share before we jump off?
Well, uh, make your own decisions when you're trying to purchase or sell your home. Don't go by what nobody else experienced, past or present experience is. Every transaction is like a fingerprint, it's always different. So, no matter what. And this market now is a more normalized market than the last 2 years. You know, people paying $100,000 over their appraised value is something that I've been in this real estate thing for 16 years. I've never seen anything close to that. I mean, I've had people walk away from the house not even praising $500 over, and people now paying hundreds of thousands, $100,000 over just cash. So be more realistic. What happens yesterday is not an indication of what happened today. So if you're going to gain 100,000, $150,000 from the sale of your house, and you want 300,000, let's be more realistic and just take that money and go with it and move on versus waiting till that wave of this market to come back that it was over the last 2 years. That's more likely was an outlier and it may not happen again. Or if it does, it may not be in our lifetime. It may be 50, 100 years from now. So let's be more realistic. And if someone is trying to buy your house, I just deal with the buyers for the most part, paying a little closing cost to get it sold versus just waiting on this investor from California to buy it. It may not happen right now. So just losing, and you're not losing, you can't go broke taking a profit. So if you pay someone a closing cost and you still get a profit, you didn't lose anything. You gained, you still gained. You didn't gain as much, but you gained. So just that's my thing. Is this market is becoming a more normalized market than what it was the last couple of years because that wasn't something that we have never seen before, and I didn't think it was going to sustain as long as it did. So now it is over. You just have to readjust and do the right thing for you, and don't worry about what someone else sold the house for 2 years ago. You got to sell your house in this current market, not what it was back then, because in the 1940s, you can buy a house for maybe 20, $30,000. You know what I'm saying? So let's adjust and go from there.
I love it. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. Shift happened, and it's happening now, and it's going to happen again. It's going to continue to happen. So this today was shifting by selling your home in a shifting market. We have several topics every week. We'll come with a different topic. And we have several things on the agenda, several different short-term rentals, investments, buying land, selling a home and divorce, 1031 exchange, creating business and personal credit, making preparations, right? Wills, trusts, things like that. We have all these different topics every Tuesday. We'll see you here, and we'll learn more. And hopefully, something will get to you, reach with you, and we can help you out. Talk to you soon. Again, LaTonya Martin, Grande Homes, Ebony Quinn, and Shedrick Dawes. Thank you all for coming on live today and helping the audience. All right. You all have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye.
Bye bye.